Hello, my name is Lowell, pronouns he, him, and we are on another session of the Veil iterations. This is my Veil 1.5, which is a adjustment to make the Veil, which I love, kind of fit more with the way that I run. But I've run quite a bit of the Veil, so this is really me smoothing things out and adding a bunch of moves. And some people have said adding more bullshit to it, so we'll see. But we're going to take up with our characters. Did anyone get an advance last time, like tick over? Jonathan did, and quite rightfully, given your roles last time, I would say.
Yes, they
So
were quite terrible. I think I
yes,
rolled a 0 on 2d6, which was
yes.
quite impressive.
So did you know what you wanted to take for your advance?
I think so. I wanted to take one of the changing moves,
Okay.
which was, let me just pull that up for a second. Off your chest. Um, which is when you first reveal your transformation to someone important, mark one bond with them if a PC, or gain a string on them if an NPC. Also gain one chrysalis. If you use this string immediately on someone friendly to you, you may pick two things to have them do. Otherwise, take +1 forward on sway, misdirect, or ultimatum on them.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That seems like a good one. And while we're with you, let's go ahead and do your start of session move here.
All right, let's do that. Okay.
Nice.
So my transform is still 0.
Yep.
I'm currently on 2 out of 4 ticks on my clock. So I roll just a flat 2d6. So let's get that going. Okay. Transform and hit roll. No, it's a miss. My third miss on the
Uh,
transform clock.
it is another tick forward.
Yep, it
You
is
do
a
get
tick
an
forward.
XP.
And I do
Uh,
get an XP. I will
okay.
remember
Yeah.
that. Yep.
We'll come back and we'll figure out what that looks like. Does anyone else have a start of session move? Can't remember. Okay. Uh, so uh, what I want to do today is do a little bit of housekeeping and check in on some things. Uh, one of those things is this. Cora, you have the burden. You have this aspect, and that's one of the things that helps generate flow. What do you think that feels like to you, or what does it look like if we're seeing it cinematically? What do you think that is?
So I think she's just exposed to people's raw emotions around her all of the time. Um, I think we established early on that she can kind of see the connections between people somewhat,
Mhm.
or she can see the threads that bind people, and it is painful to be surrounded by uh, too much negative energy for Cora. So she can kind of operate in one of two modes. Either she's trying to isolate herself from everyone to prevent that from influencing her overly much, or she would usually go out of her way to try and help the people around her. Just kind of becomes overly invested in the people around her to try and uh, help them to feel better because that helps her to feel better.
Do you think that your motivation last time for going into that dangerous situation came from that burden, or was there something else that was driving you there?
Um, Oh, that's a good question. I think the motivation driving Cora for most of last session was anger. She
Okay.
was angry with the current situation, and uh, so I think it is related to being an empath
Yeah.
and related to that burden,
Yeah.
but I don't know that it was
And
because
you,
of.
I think you that definitely qualifies for you generating flow, because you did put yourself at risk there in that situation. So I think that counts for that. And I believe also last time that you saw someone from your entanglement.
Yes. I went at the end and investigated the Church of something.
Church of Conversion
Scientific
Science.
Conversion Science, the Church of Conversion Science, and established that Mercury was coming in and out of there, which is an NPC that is part of my entanglement between myself and Ono.
Absolutely. I'll come back to you. Ono, let's come to you. We talked sort of a bit about your entangling essentially Trigger's sibling, right? So Jonathan, are you still good with that? Okay. So Ono, who is that? What is their name?
How about Destiny?
Okay.
It popped into my head, and I
Sure.
found that's the only way to name things is because
She, her?
correct.
Okay. I imagining someone like how old are you? You look kind of old in the picture, right?
Yeah, I had imagined them to be older, but not like decrepit, right? But not spry teenager either.
So late 30s, early 40s.
40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're assuming then that this is Trigger's older sister. If we're kind of in a close, was that how you, just because we've got Trigger's slightly early 20s, so somewhere in between. So how do you think that you crossed paths with her? Did you cross paths with her because you're a friend of Trigger's, or is it something that happened before or after, and then you realized that they were related?
I kind of like the idea of she was coming to his noodle cart, right? And they struck up sort of one of these sort of like, hey, there's a bit of a connection, but we don't know if that kind of like little thing there. And then later found out that she was Trigger's sister.
Okay.
Or maybe later Trigger found out and was less than pleased.
I think that worked for you, Jonathan. So you know that Trigger is not entirely enthused about this relationship. I think you probably have that vibe, right? But you also know that her parents have just gone through this horrible trauma. You found that out last time, and then you got wrapped up in this sports bar brawl. So are you planning on contacting her? Are you doing anything in regard to that? You're trying to isolate yourself from that? What do you think you're doing with that?
I think that they want to contact her, but do it in a way that Trigger doesn't know.
Okay. So calling her up?
Maybe the messaging sort of,
Okay.
I'm thinking, maybe they will message her and ask if just saying, if they're okay.
And there'll be kind of a longer pause, and she'll reply back, things a little chaotic here. I just got done getting my parents set up at an emergency CONAPT provided by the government. I've been trying to get hold of Trigger, and Trigger's kind of gone off the grid, and I'm kind of trying to keep this all together.
Um, where are you staying? If he's like, where will you be? And when can I see you?
I'm back at my place now. I did not want to move my parents in with me, though. Let us say that was a long discussion, because clearly they weren't going to stay with Trigger. His apartment is not nearly big enough for them. But yeah, I got them set up, so I'm back home now.
Yeah, I think he's going to go. They're gonna go see her. I think they're gonna make like a little like take out like noodle thing
Mhm.
food for them, and take it to her.
Absolutely. Uh, what does she do?
Um, I want Jonathan to be okay with this too, but the first thing that popped to my head was that maybe that she is in some sort of um like kind of like some sort of like corporate marketing sort of thing, right? Like maybe somebody who does, social media stuff, or what the equivalent of that might be, not like somebody who's at some like one of these like evil corp, right? But maybe something lower key, right?
Okay.
I don't know why marketing person just popped into my head.
Well,
uh,
it's not unlike what Trigger does. So I think there's probably a family history of that being a thing. And let's say that she's essentially works for one of those dynamic non-for-profits, taking up causes and doing marketing for causes and that kind of thing.
yeah, that sounds perfect. Some sort of advocacy type stuff. That sounds cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a crack through on your messaging service, and there'll be an anonymous prompt that says, "We're still looking for you."
I think he'll message, "I've already told you, I mean you no harm," and then just cut it off.
Okay.
Maybe just disconnect, or do whatever he can do to, or they can do to disconnect. So
And as you're going to disconnect, I think you'll see a little ident photo and some information pop up, and you'll see a picture of Destiny and some stats there beside it before you close things off. We'll come back to you. Trigger, uh, kind of recovered from that weird incident yesterday, and then you had this fight, and you told him what for, but you also found out some stuff, and you had that very weird interaction with your pal.
Yeah, with Moss.
Yeah, who kind of put you in a pinch there. So,
Yeah.
where do we find you this time?
Oh gosh. It's a good question. I mean, I've so far we've um every session I've missed on the transformation role, and we've seen how that manifests as Trigger
What
experiencing problems with his with their transformation.
what happens when that happens at work?
Yeah. I think yeah, let's explore that. I think
Okay.
that's a good place to start. I think I think like last we left it, Moss kind of gave Trigger an ultimatum, like
Yeah.
or a proposition that um that Moss would tell Trigger the information that they wanted about the who might be behind the destruction of the explosion at their parents' towers. If Trigger would make themselves scarce for a week because they were with Trigger's girlfriend and wanted to advance that. And I think Trigger had like couldn't answer that in the moment
Right.
and had to delay, like had to think about it. And I think so we now see Trigger thinking about this at work. Like they're trying to focus on their work, but they're distracted. And I think maybe Robert
Yep.
notices that Trigger's not sticking to their task, and he's kind of like staring off into space. At Trigger doesn't realize it, and there's blood starts trickling down from their nose, and and maybe we'll yeah. Well, how does Robert react?
I think that you will see Robert spots that, and he looks, and you will see him go over to like a pad over on the wall, and he keeps his eye on you and starts dialing something in, and you can tell that he's calling for someone medical. But he's not approaching you or saying anything to you. He's just doing that. And I think you're kind of in that fugue state, like as the roaring is in your ears, and you realize that it's someone is about to come and probably put you on a stretcher and take you to a medical place and start running some tests.
I think it's is there a role here? Because I'm kind of thinking that if I don't know if Trigger is conscious, is able to snap out of this like
Yeah,
that.
I think
I
this is you have the choice. I think the hard move is this situation.
Yeah.
Now you get to decide what you want to do.
I feel like I'm just looking at the moves here to see if there's something that kind of like I think that can I roll in a conflict here?
Sure, if you want to
Like
start with
I,
that.
yeah, I feel like this is a good place to start because I think that there's
It'll tell you
Trigger,
what you want to stand up here
yeah,
and kind of
whether like if Trigger succeeds and manages to keep themselves together, then they'll act, then they'll try and get out of the situation. But if they don't,
what state are you rolling with?
oh, good question. Oh, it's definitely not. It's not mad. It's not joy. It's not power. Um, I think. Well, we were thinking about. I think it's fear. I
Okay.
think it's fear. I think they're afraid of their transformation and the fear of losing whiskey. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So that's +1. It's always fun starting on a miss.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That's
Okay,
a
so
12.
Trigger,
Like you've
that
got
is a 12.
yourself like boom, locked down. You
Yeah, and
know you
maybe
need to get out of here in
yeah,
some
and
way.
I think that fear penetrates. Like I think it's suddenly that fear spikes a little bit. It's not spiked out, but it spikes, and that like Trigger realizes what's happening and decides that they need to get out of there. They don't want to be in medical and tested and stuff like that. So I think
Are you going
um
to rush out of here, or are you going to try and like sneak and be a little more discreet about it,
I think
or something else.
Trigger's going to try and talk their way out of it. I think that they're going to try and go, like, see Robert dialing on the phone at, like, or moving and punching in on their terminal or whatever it is, and wipes I think they notice the blood, and that's what kind of, and wipes it away. Trigger wipes it away. Stands up from from their desk and heads towards Robert, and kind of just tries to say, Robert, I've just remembered, I that those what is it? Those projections that you ask for, I sent them to Moss, and I haven't heard back. I will I just tried him, and I will he wants to meet, so I will go, and I will be back soon. And he's trying to divert here, or
Okay.
sway,
I are you more
and
trying
before
to talk your way past calmly, or are you trying to a little more fast talk,
fast
distract?
talk,
Okay.
yeah, like before even Robert can even answer, Trigger's already heading out.
Then roll with divert.
Okay. And I think this is fear still.
Absolutely.
So
Please,
just
please run that up the flagpole.
that's an 8.
That is an 8. So you can slip away as one of the picks.
Mhm.
And what else do you want from that?
I oh, so I can create an opportunity for me or for someone else. I can glean a flaw or weakness, or Robert can become confused or flustered. Is that right?
Yes.
I think I'll take the. I think. I think I'll take an opportunity and see. I glimpse something on Robert's screen. Um, as I kind of whiz past, I notice something on the screen that gives me some sort of leverage, so that if that will help me in some negotiation with Robert if my job become is fully in jeopardy.
Yeah, I think you will see, like, you get a glance, and there are a list of people who are kind of on the margin, when they do their daily assessments of who we might cut loose.
Yeah,
And you'll definitely see your name on
yeah,
that
for sure.
list,
Yeah,
essentially from the workforce consultant. But you'll also see Moss's name is on there, and he is
yes.
clearly also dancing on that edge for some reason. Sound good?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll dart out of there. Cora, you've had this weird situation, the battle at the sports bar, but now this tracking down of details on the Church of Convergent Science, and this viewing of your friend. So what are you up to?
So I think the last couple of days have been an absolute roller coaster of emotions for Cora. She's was involved in a this terrible tragedy, and then getting into a bar fight of all things yesterday, and putting her friends in danger, which I think is probably not something that she's used to having to deal with on an emotional kind of level. And I think as she kind of comes down from that the adrenaline high of that roller coaster of emotions. She's feeling drained. She's feeling tired. She's feeling guilty that she's put her friends into potentially dangerous situation. And I think I mentioned last time as well, like she was pretty despondent at the idea of trying to take on an entire church.
Right.
But then filled with a lot more resolve when she saw that she has some connection there. We never really established what the connection between Cora and Mercury are. But I had kind of been thinking it of as Cora is aware that Mercury is an empath, but isn't. But maybe they've never actually spoken, or they've had a chance meeting once, and Cora hasn't known how to find her again. To come
and
back
you
to
do
it.
know some other people who are sort of in the empath community, right? You just kind of established that. All right. So what do you want to do? Do you want to track down Mercury? Do you want to track down someone else from the community? Do you want to do something else?
So I was actually going to start with we had established previously that Cora paints as a kind of emotional outlet. So, but I think because of everything that's been happening, she's trying to paint the scene at the bar, and her usual modus operandi for this is to try and paint something, but put the most positive spin on it possible to kind of like look at the beauty and awesomeness in the world and try and draw the focus away from the awfulness. And I think she's been struggling to do that. So we can kind of open up on Cora in her apartment with like the floor is littered with half-finished paintings, and in one of them, Ono and Trigger are being like severely beaten by the goons. In one of them, Axiom is looking terrified at the table, surrounded by the three of us, and so I would like to open with an inner conflict as well.
Okay. Let's have you roll that. Also, you say painting. Is it literal paint, or is it some kind of digital painting, or is it some other kind of substance? Is it done with sand or like a nano stylus or something? What do you think that is?
Yeah, I like the idea that there is a digital component to it, but I kind of want a physical artifact at the end of it. So either there is something about the paper that responds digitally to some tools of some description. I also really like the idea of using some kind of sand. So maybe some colored sort of nanoparticle things that you can apply to a digital paper, and maybe in such a way that it will the individual grains of pigment will move in the drawing. It doesn't. It's not animated as such, but it's in constant motion to kind of draw the eye to different parts of whatever the pieces of artwork are when you're looking at it.
So as you're doing that, as you're going through this process, what do you think is you want to roll for that inner conflict?
I think I want to roll sad. Kind of feeling guilty about the situation and kind of like how did I come to this?
Okay. So that's your best stat. So put a check marks on sad, take the one off of joy, and roll.
I did, and I rolled a 9, which
so like toss the paints down and leave. Overreact to this in some creative way, or mark another box of sad.
No, I think she does kind of give up on this idea in disgust and just kicks over something, probably spills a fair amount of valuable pigment, and is frustrated and angry. And we kind of see her stalking through her, well, it's a one-bedroom apartment, but stalking back to a different area of the apartment, and she will open a drawer and hesitate for a moment and then pull out a collection of small knives that she had used one yesterday, and she just starts arranging them in her jacket and then walks out and slams the door.
Okay. So before I cut on, where are you headed?
I am going to go back to The Church of, why can I never remember this name?
I'll put it in the
I
chat.
have it in my notes. Aha, the Church of Convergent Science. Yeah, she will head back to the Church of Convergent Science, and her intent is to try and orchestrate a chance meeting with Whiskey.
Okay. We'll come back to
sorry, with Mercury.
Mercury.
Wrong NPC.
Yeah. Oh no. You planned on going and meeting with Destiny, but you also just got this weird message through. So what are you doing?
Yeah, I think as soon as that message came through and he saw her picture, he kind of dropped what he was doing. He was probably cooking or pulling stuff together, and basically ran out to go as fast as he could to her apartment, whatever cyber people call where they live, their flat.
Con app, their flat.
Tube, their sleeping tube or whatever.
And yeah, you will rush over there, and you know the city a little bit better, and you'll get there, arrive, go on up, and she's it's one of those big tall buildings, so she's on like the 31st floor. So you have to take the elevator, then there's the second elevator, and go up, and yeah, you'll get up there and ring the bell, and she'll come to the door, and she'll be a little surprised. She says, "We got cut off."
Yeah, I think he's like so Ono is like winded, and like clearly he's been running, and I imagine that ringing the bell, pounding on the door, and when she answers, he kind of pushes his way in and then slams the door
Okay.
behind, and is
come in.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
And I mean, I think he'll kind of like move around the apartment, like looking around, maybe close blinds, that sort of stuff, and then start to calm down a little, and as he sees that there's that she's okay, and just to say, I'm sorry, I'm just very worried about you. It's been lots of stuff going on, and I just had a feeling something might not be okay, and I just need to know that you're okay.
Yes. What is going on? I mean, there's okay because you're worried about me and my parents, and then there's okay, you came in and shut the blinds so that a sniper can't fire in.
So it might be my turn for an interconflict roll.
That seems fair, because you've certainly endangered her, probably by coming here, right?
Yeah, and I don't like. I think it's like, I would assume he's, he can't. They can't say why, right? And so he's all like, they're all like torn and everything. So that probably makes.
What do you want to roll that with?
I think it's got to be fear.
Okay.
So, and I actually have a. Sorry, I'm dice roller. 8.
So you have a choice. You can mark another tick in fear. You can leave because you're freaking out, or you can kind of overreact here.
I think I'll mark another fear.
Okay. What do you do when the doorbell rings? And you see her look up like,
I think I'll don't answer that.
and now you really have to explain what's going on to me.
Just hang on, and I'll go to the door, and I'm assuming there's like either video screen or something like
Yeah.
and stuff.
It seems to be glitched right now.
There's no other way. um he's going to go back to her and say, "Do you trust me?"
She pauses and she says, I trust you're going to explain to me what's going on. Doorbell rings again.
And he's going to say again, "I need to know that you trust me."
Oh, okay.
All right, then he's going to try. I'm going to do asylum. I'm going to try to pop us out of there. I believe if I roll high enough, I can take her with me.
Absolutely. Let's have you do
I
that.
roll high
What are you going to roll that with?
enough. I think it's still fear.
Okay.
That has to be the overriding emotion of the moment. Oh. 6.
So I think that you open that up, and I think that you're not as focused as you need to be. And we've established that there is a kind of a like transspatial portion to your asylum here, and I think that there's a whooshing of air, and I think that like everything in her apartment goes flying, and the door slams in, and Trigger, you step in and you see your sister's apartment is a freaking mess. And you see Ono standing there. You're still kind of sweating from getting out of the workspace. You came here for refuge. You wanted to check in with your sister, and there's Ono, and you can see that things are kind of like as if there was a sudden wind in here that has now just crashed to the ground.
So Trigger just like kind of looks around in shock and looks at and says straight to Ono, what are you doing here?
And
And
I
then
think Odo's gonna kind of stutter a little. And he's looks at her, looks at you, and kind of I don't know. I don't know. And you're just gonna slump down on the couch or chair or something that he's next to.
and Trigger looks to Destiny for like what's going on. Can you explain?
And she says, Trigger, would you please take your friend and go? And I will talk with you later, Ono.
Yes, of course. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And Trigger says, no, no, I can't go. I have to talk to you, Destiny. It's important.
She looks very mad right now. She's like, what is it?
And
think
I
in the
think
meantime, I'm just gonna leave. Ono's just gonna.
She just says,
and Trigger looks at Ono and then says, what is I feel like Trigger has a name for Destiny, like they used to call her when they were young. What is it?
Desi?
Desi. Yeah, I was thinking that too. So, Desi. Something's going on with me, and I don't know what it is. I'm afraid I can't control it. I I need your help.
She'll turn to you, Ono, and go, okay, I will talk with you later, Ono.
Yeah, and he very unceremoniously skedaddles as quickly as he can.
Make sure you mark the XP for that, miss. So she will gesture for you to sit down, Trigger. And she says, what is going on?
Trigger takes a deep breath and kind of looks around the mess for a moment as if not sure where to sit or where to begin, and then sighs and sees does she have a big couch or a bed or something?
We'll assume she has a couch here. Yeah.
Yeah. Like a big two-seater, or three, even, big couch. It looks pretty heavy. And Trigger goes, well, for starters, there's this. And then he bends down and with one arm picks up the couch.
And she goes, oh, don't tell me you went and got black market cyberware.
No, I wish I could afford it.
And then what?
I don't know. Something is happening to me. I wake up in strange places. I don't know what I'm doing or where I'm going there.
Oh, you're not hopped up on the goop, are you?
No. It's just now. I was at work and blood was coming out of my nose. It's Whiskey. She won't talk to me. I'm worried Robert is going to fire me.
So wait. What is happening to you? Like, put the couch down first, and then
Trigger forgot. They were
like
holding it and put it down.
What is happening? Like she would like you to tell her. Do you tell her that this is some kind of physical transformation you're undergoing?
Yeah, to the best of Trigger's capability, because Trigger doesn't understand it either. So yeah, Trigger is trying to get this off their chest. Sorry. So
you will get a string on your sister.
Yeah.
You'll gain a chrysalis.
First one.
Yeah. Now, is there something you want to have them do right away?
Yes. There is.
What is the task you want her to do?
He says, after they try to explain what's going on with them, and maybe Destiny sees that they don't fully understand it either, but understand that it's dire, or that it's important, at least to them. Trigger says, whatever happens at work, I can get a new job, but Whiskey, Desi, I love her. Can you? And now I'm afraid that she's back with Moss. Can you talk to her? Can you tell her? Can you try and get her to talk to me? I need to meet her away from Moss. Please?
Well, first of all, I think that's a really bad idea. But yes, I will do that if that is what you want. But then you have to promise me that you're going to, like, find someone to talk to about what's going on with this.
Someone? Like who?
Like a doctor?
I don't know. I don't think that will help.
Well, let's burn that bridge when we come to it, okay? Let me see what I can do about Whiskey.
Thank you. Thanks, Desi.
Just make sure you keep your contacts open, okay? Cora, let's cut back to you. I think we established last time that you kind of found a good spot to watch the building. And eventually you will see coming out of there Mercury. It's, of course, classic cyberpunk. It's raining now, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has the neon umbrellas up and things.
Yep, across the street, pretending to read a newspaper.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to, I want to follow her without being seen, because I want to have a discussion with her, but I kind of don't want her to link me with the church.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So I don't want her to know that I was sitting at the front of the church and waiting for her.
Right.
So I want to tail her for a bit.
Yeah, let's do that with divert. I think you're kind of trying to keep attention off of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to roll that with?
I'm not sure. I kind of I think Cora has been a little frustrated, but I think she's excited by the prospect of this meeting. This is something that she's been looking for a way to make happen for some time. So I'm kind of I want to look at the more positive side. Partly because mechanically my negative side is nearly spiked out on just about everything. So I'd like to introduce some balance for the character, and also because I think that does make sense.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to roll that with Joy.
All right.
Joy feels strong for that, but I was just scanning through the wheel of emotions to find something that looked good. That's an 8.
Yeah. So I think at 8 you can create an opportunity. You can slip away from her attention. I think that's not a problem. And I think you can even do it such that you can catch her when she's like finally kind of stopped and gone into one of these automats and has gone up to the vending machines and has punched up the food, and then has gone to sit and wait until the scheduled rain is over, and has her coffee and her Danish and her sandwich in a box.
All right, and yeah, I'll wait a few beats and then follow in after her, and I'll grab some food and sit down at a table nearby and kind of pretend to be interested in my food, and then kind of suddenly like, oh, do I know you?
I think she'll look at you. She goes, we've met before.
Oh, my name's Cora. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name.
Mercury.
Where do you know where we've met? I don't.
And I think she kind of says in your head, we met briefly.
And Cora will
kind of
smile.
She gestures for you to come over and sit. And she's like, what are you doing around here? Do you work at one of the corps around here?
No,
I thought you were a performer of some kind.
Yes, and I'm in between performances, and I was just out visiting a friend nearby, and the rain kind of forced me off the street. No, I was on my way home, but yeah, I thought I would come in and grab a bite and wait out the rain.
And you see her stop. Clearly, something pops up in her veil, and you can tell her mood kind of darkens a little bit, but then pops back up. She closes out whatever it was, and she says, we didn't have much a chance to talk when we met last time. Have you met others in our circumstances?
A few here and there, but let's just say it's not a good time to be open about such things, especially after the events of this week.
Yes. Agreed.
And I feel like I've made some mistakes this week, and I could really use a friend.
Did someone come to you offering promises?
I put some friends in danger, and
How so?
it was probably entirely avoidable. I got very angry with the news. One of my friends, his parents were in the building, and it's just been a really awful situation, and I picked a fight with somebody that I probably shouldn't have.
Are your friends like you and I?
No.
Let's have you make a study roll here. I think as this conversation goes on, I think you might be trying to get some answers from her, directly or indirectly. Let's see how that looks.
Yeah, I got to decide what to roll this with, and I think, given the mood of the situation and the discussion, I'm going to have to go back to sad.
Okay. So yeah, let's have you roll assess.
Let's say 9.
It's a 9. So you've got 1 hold or 2 hold if you pay a cost.
Ooh. Do I get to know what the cost is?
I'll tell
or-
you what, I'll offer you a cost here. The cost is
Okay.
that she'll begin to realize that this was not just a coincidence
Mhm.
that you arranged to cross paths.
No, I don't want to pay that cost just yet.
Okay.
So I will take one hold.
So what is it the question that you want the answer to, or what detail do you want to reveal?
So in this case, I do want to ask a question about a person. I've talked about the building and the explosion. I kind of want to gauge what her emotional reaction to that whole situation is that, and I kind of also discussed the negative public sentiment towards empaths. Did she respond to that emotionally?
He does, and she will say to you, there are going to be people that are going to be coming to you, and they're going to be offering safety in this time of trouble. Don't take them up on that offer. I can't really tell you more than that, but there's some things going on, some people moving things behind the scenes, and they're doing it for a number of reasons. And one of them is to get people like us, and she'll reach over and say, under their umbrella.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How will I? Well, it's a silly question. How will I know
If they seem like they've got money, if they seem slick, if they seem corporate, if they seem church, be wary. They'll promise you the moon, but
Thank you. This has been, it's been really nice. Other than this Danish is awful.
they are. You have to get here at the time when they do the turnover, when they auto eject them and put the fresh ones in.
Do you like noodles?
I do like noodles.
I know this guy gets all the best fresh ingredients. Maybe sometime we could grab a bowl of noodles.
Absolutely. She'll kind of pull up in her thing and do the exchange of contact info with you.
Awesome.
Let's take our first break. Let's take 10 and we'll come back, okay?
Yep. Awesome. Thank you.
So, oh no, I think we come back to you after you've been chased out of the apartment there. What are you going to do?
So I think here's what I think. I
Yes.
think that they'll this is a time where they need to refine their center and calm themselves down. And so I think what they will do is they will go back to their sanctuary. And I believe they will I've been thinking in between sessions a little more about this whole part of themselves. And I believe that they will enter into some sort of into sort of a meditation that they do in as part of their seeking of truth, seeking of those sort of things. And I was wondering if it would be a good I think that as the way they want to find out to seek some knowledge about, it's been a while since the iconoclasts that he's encountered. They've encountered them, right? And so they want to seek knowledge or truth about that. And so I was thinking that this might be a lift the veil sort of situation.
Absolutely. That's exactly where that's for, is kind of finding that sort of general information, spreading your awareness out to uncover details.
Yeah, and one of the things that, and I'll be quick about this but I just wanted to, is I had added, like, I reread some of your stuff about cyberware, and one of the things you had a note in there about wanting to broaden the definition of it, and it kind of inspired me that one of their cyberwares is sort of a virus, and that it is sort of a viroware that when you're in that order, at a certain point of your training, you're infected with it. And if you live, then you can advance to the higher training. And my thought process is that this virus unlocks parts of your brain that you wouldn't normal people don't have access to, and that is where they get that is how they get their special insight. The onomastic.
Yeah, that makes sense. Echoes of the spice from Dune in a different kind of thing. I like that. So mechanically, how that works is if you have that as your cyberware, when you go to do the lift the veil roll, you can mark that cyberware for the session and give yourself a +1 on your roll.
Okay.
So what do you want to roll that with?
And the other, I just want to mention another thing is I added a negative tag to that as well, as it is addictive.
Okay.
I thought that'd be an interesting play on why the order decayed and were able to be hunted down, is that people became addicted to being in this state, where they could see things and stuff.
Absolutely.
So, I will roll with I don't think. Trying to think. I think they're going to roll with. I have them roll with peace. I think that is the state that they're attempting to put themselves into.
Okay.
So that's just a flat roll, and I will mark the cyberware, and I'll use it for +1. No, I'm not. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for that.
Are you sure? Because here's the thing: is those cyberware will reset at the end of the session. You've got 3 pieces, so it's 3 + 1 forwards.
Yes. So do I need to uncheck the one I used last time?
Yeah, you clear that out. You reset that.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
+1. 12.
So that is a 12. So on a 12 with the lift the veil, what is the thing you kind of want to know, just generally? And then I'll move kind of like to get a specific thing from you here.
I think that I'd like to learn a clue or something about their cybertome.
Interesting. Let me look them back on the bond questions here. So you haven't yet been able to open the cybertome, but I think the thing that you will realize as you have experienced it and meditate on it, it's still locked away from you. But I think the thing that you will come to realization is that it is several substances. It is not purely physical, It's not purely inorganic. It's not purely organic. It definitely, like, as you hold it and you let your senses expand into it, it feels like a combination of those things. That is kind of a melange of those elements, rather than it being like a mechanical tome or even being like a Cronenbergian fleshy thing. It's some kind of combination of states there.
Cool.
So that's the general information that I've given you. Now you roll a 12 plus with that. So on that move with the lift the veil, you can ask a follow-up question. You can also reveal a detail. There's something you want to say about what is happening here.
I do want to reveal a detail.
What is the detail you want to reveal?
Well, that's another question.
Fair enough. You want to think on that?
I do want to think on that just briefly.
Okay, yeah. Let me check in then with our changing one. Trigger, after you've had this interaction with your sister, she's kind of calmed down a little bit. She clearly sees there's something going down. Ono has headed out. She will call you up and say, I can arrange a meeting between you and Whiskey, but then it's on you, right?
Thank you, Desi.
And
Moss, he doesn't know, right?
Not yet, unless she told him.
But you told her not to, right?
I said that you wanted to talk with her and away from Moss and so on.
Okay. Thanks, Desi. I can't tell you what this means to me.
She goes to say something and you see her face kind of set into that kind of flat line. She's like, okay. So where is this meeting arranged at?
It's interesting. Just stepping back for a second.
Sure.
I was kind of thinking it would be so I was kind of thinking that we might that might take some time to arrange, and that we would go and see Moss at, first. But I
It's
like
up to
it
you.
like
We
this.
can delay.
No. I like this. I'm just kind of wrapping my head around it.
Sure.
So where would Trigger meet Whiskey? I think maybe at where did they first meet? I think that's where would be a good spot.
If it's the case that, then I think we're actually talking like a place not far from your workplace.
Yeah, I think like a cafe. That they went. Maybe he asked her out. Maybe they asked her out for lunch or something.
Okay. Yeah, so you will go
or
there.
Coffee as their first kind of.
I think that it's not the most romantic place possible.
No.
And I think that we've already established that Whiskey is in a bad mood.
Yeah.
I think when you come in, you will see that she's there. She's keeping her face very straight. You'll see that she has some new holographic jewelry in her
Mhm.
display there.
Right.
She clearly waits for you to make your opening gambit.
Right. I think Trigger sees that and says, um, and says, "Whiskey, it's good to see you. Um, I've been. Do you want a coffee?
I have a coffee.
Well, let's go for a walk."
No, let's sit here and you talk.
All right. But let me get a coffee first. And Trigger orders, their usual, and Trigger looks sheepish a little bit and a bit embarrassed and doesn't really know what to say at first.
Cora, I think that even at a distance, I think that you can feel at the back of your head, back of your mind, one of your friends is going through the emotional ringer.
Yeah. So I've come out of this meeting with Mercury feeling way more positive than I have in the last few days.
Yeah.
But still feeling kind of guilty about the situation she feels she put her friends in yesterday. And yeah, feeling that somebody is in trouble, she will immediately try and call Trigger just to see. Because she knows of the two of them, it is, from her perspective, most likely that he's the one in trouble.
I think you've gotten your coffee, Trigger. You're like,
Mhm.
okay, I got to go back to the table, and your phone pings, and you will see that it is Cora.
I think this is inner conflict. Like, yeah, I think this is inner conflict. I have to roll it. It's just too good.
What are you rolling that with?
Oh God. Um, yeah. That's fear. Fear of losing whiskey, and fear of disappointing or disappointing their friend, or missing out on some new development.
Yeah.
Let's roll fear again. All right. Okay. So Trigger keeps themselves together and
Keep yourself coherent.
coherent, and kind of sends a quick message with it, so reply, kind of saying, I'll call back as soon as possible, to Cora, and focuses on whiskey.
Okay.
And is like,
So here's my question for you. We're going to have this interaction this time with whiskey. The big question here is, I think there's sort of two directions. There's, I just want to talk and sway and convince her, or there's revealing the horrible truth to her and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Which direction do you think you want to go?
I think that if they hadn't been going out for that long, then it would just be a sway. But because I think we've established that the relationship has been for quite a while, and that Whiskey has noticed that something's been up with Trigger. I think Trigger's starting to feel guilt. What Trigger's feeling is guilt that they haven't been truthful and been honest about what's been going on, and they've been trying to deny it. Because they haven't been able to admit it to themselves, and now they've just got it off their chest to Desi. I think that kind of damn wall has started to break down, and I think Trigger's going to.
Yeah, either way is going to be a sway.
Yeah,
but there's one version of sway that keeps things in the status quo, and there's another one that has big winning, big problems potential.
Yeah, and I think Trigger's gonna go for the big one here. I think it takes Trigger some time. I think like Trigger drinks, like it's really really difficult. Like it's and maybe that's what triggered Cora, like because this is really hard. Like Trigger's squirming around, looking around to make sure no one's watching, like really uncomfortable. And Whiskey's probably almost like to the point of getting fed up and ready to leave before Trigger's like, no.
Then what are you rolling it with?
That's fear again. Like,
okay.
Yeah, Trigger's really afraid that they're going to lose Whiskey, and and also about what's happening to them. So let's do it. So do I take +1 as well for getting this off, for revealing this, for the move, like so when I reveal the transformation to someone important, I gain a string on them. If they're an NPC, I gain a chrysalis, and I can use this string to well, they're not friendly necessarily. I don't know. You can pick 2 things to have them do, or otherwise take +1 forward on a sway. So I think the sway.
Yeah, I think it's definitely +1 forward.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'll mark the additional chrysalis before I forget, and I'll gain a string on Whiskey, and
you're rolling with a +2.
+2. Let's do it.
Almost no chance you could fail.
Almost no chance. Absolutely, it's guaranteed. Oh, okay. Whew. So that's a 10 on a sway.
And I think that she says, this is a lot to take in.
I know.
You're going to have to give me some time.
I know that.
But I'm glad that you could share this with me, and I do need to think about it.
Take as much time as you need. I
feel bad because I really thought that you were spending time with Cora when all of this is going on, when in fact you were just dealing with this.
Cora's a friend, but this is Whiskey. I'm afraid. I don't know what this is, and
I think you've got to find someone who knows. From everything you said, it sounds to me like like that's something you haven't tried yet.
Yeah, maybe.
Or to
But
put her hand on yours and she will say, I will be here for you. I do need to adjust. I'll be here for you, and we will figure out a way through this. You and I.
and I think he Trigger squeezes Whiskey's hand, and I think you see a tear run down Trigger's face. I think this
Okay.
is like, yeah.
I think we're gonna kind of cut away from that emotional moment there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, let me check back with you. Did you have a declaration you wanted to make?
What what level of, like, when you reveal a detail, what level of thing are we talking
Let me give you
about?
the example that was like one of the first things was we were playing Hearts of Wulin, and Fraser made a study roll as he saw his character's sister. His character was an assassin. He saw his character's sister moving across at night. His sister was just an innocent in this, and he rolled a study move. And his declaration was, "As I'm watching her, I realized that she has also been trained by my assassin master." Like you can do plot changing things in here. Like, look, we're going to ask you how you realize it, or what we see, or what the revelation is, but you can change. Like, you can add major plot elements here.
Feels like a lot of pressure.
It is. It is.
Um,
It is the place where you get to take a little bit of GM authority, basically, is what's kind of happening.
Let me tell you what first leapt into my mind.
Sure.
But I don't feel like it might not be. I'm going to throw it out there, and then
Yeah.
if somebody wants to help workshop this little, I kind of wanted to say that the nature of the cybertome, what you kind of described,
Mm-hmm.
is connected to what's happening to Trigger. Like, it's the same, like what the transformation is, and
Yeah.
what they are becoming,
There-
they're the same, they're connected somehow.
There is, and I talked about it being physical and organic and inorganic, but I think there's also, as you're staring at it, you realize and you feel a crackle of that there's a veil component to it. And that I think that the kind of things, the kind of like noise in the background maybe you've heard when you've been around Trigger, and like that there's something happening at that level, and it like, I think your eyes come open as you realize that there's a familiarity there.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea that, like, maybe when Trigger has had one of his of their events or these things, there's this sort of almost resonant, like, deep, like, harmonic sort of those kind of like type of things,
I
right?
think you now realize that your cybertome has reacted on a very subtle level when things have happened with Trigger. I like that. That sounds great. Cora, what are you up to after this meeting? And you kind of checked in, and you definitely felt the sine wave of Trigger's emotions there. But what do you want to do?
So I think Cora is feeling buoyed by this whole experience. She's going through her own sine wave of emotions. She's in moving more towards the peak at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So if it continues to rain, I think she'll walk back to her apartment. She remembers that she made a mess before she left, and she's looking forward to cleaning that up and yeah, getting some part of her life back in order a little bit, and just enjoying being out, and like I might love being in the rain. So I think she's enjoying that connection to nature and just being.
There's that thing I imagine with a city like this, with the organics and with the rain, is that there is a lot more of the rain barrels and a lot more things to move and collect the rain in a more organic way. So there's, we've got that wonderful sheets coming off of the overhangs, but also stone and metal work that is putting it into basins and things around here, and people are out and in it, and I think you come back kind of cleansed and refreshed, and you will see waiting in the entryway of your apartment building there, kind of talking with a vending machine robot that they seem to be kind of having some kind of conversation. You see your fixer, the person who fixes you up with jobs. What's their name?
Donovan.
Donovan. And you could hear he's like, no, I know you've got a secret menu, right? You got a secret menu, right? And then he'll see you and punches for a little hot cup of soba, and he's like, hey, Cora, I've been hanging around, was in the neighborhood, thought I would see what you were up to.
I'm just out for a walk. I haven't had a job since the thing earlier this week interrupted my previous performance, so just waiting for the next one. It's good to see you.
So I am the bearer of good news.
You have a job for me?
Yes, I do. But more of a private gig. There's some people who wanna set up your performance, and I'd like to help you kind of get set up. Would like to talk with you about the technical aspects of it and that kind of thing.
Okay, sounds good.
So it's pretty high dollar. I have the sense that they have an ulterior motive, but the money is really good.
And ulterior motive? What do you mean?
How do I put this? They definitely want you to perform, and they're definitely going to pay top credit, but I think that maybe they've got some other agenda happening there.
Okay. Is it safe?
Now that is anything safe in this day and age? I couldn't say. But I have the sense that, look, beggars can't be choosers, and it seems to me like this is some kind of, maybe there's some kind of extrication or infiltration team, and they're hoping to maybe make use of a performance as a distraction kind of thing.
Okay. I as you say, beggars can't be choosers. I will meet with them.
Excellent.
See what they want.
The person, the contact's name you're going to want, and he'll kind of grab in the air the little calling card and throw it into your overhead. He says it's a woman named Maitre Mitra, and she'd like to talk with you about the details. Otherwise, you're doing good?
Yeah, I was when the building went down, I was helping to get people out. And it's been an exhausting few days.
Like, can I ask a question?
Always.
Why? I mean, you were in a performance across town. Why would you?
Well, people needed help, Donovan, and I could help.
They've got people for that. They've got robots for that. That kind of thing. Don't have to throw yourself out there.
Many hands make light work.
Many hands get crushed under falling debris. So just okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. Well, I will talk with you later. Give me the skivvy after you've talked with Mitra, and hopefully this turns out to be an excellent business opportunity.
Thank you, Donovan. And it's the other machine on the other side of the building that has the secret menu.
Ooh. I will catch you later. So let's then swing back to Ono. You've had this chance to meditate, to have this realization. Which of your comrades are you going to contact, or are you going to go talk to an NPC, or are you going to do something else here?
I actually was thinking that maybe, and if timeline doesn't work, I think that maybe he's gonna go to work.
Okay.
Uh, and just set up the cart and get ready for the lunch crowd.
Absolutely. So I think we'll see you heading down there to get your stuff together, get your cart out there. Can we Cora, Trigger, can we bring one or both of you into to contact Trigger?
Well, I was going to say, if Mike, if you want Cora as well, but I was going to say, just after you set up, you see Trigger walking up to your cart, because I'm assuming that it's in the same spot. Like you've got a spot where you have your cart. It's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
Or,
I think
yeah.
that's
Or
probably
maybe it's one of a few or something, and Trigger knows where you're at. So, she Trigger walking up and says, without any preambles, they say, so you're still seeing my sister, huh?
And Ono's, so I think Ono's kind of back in a pretty good headspace,
Mhm.
coming out of his stuff. So they're just doing their at doing all their work, and you just see a slight like eyebrow raise as that comment is made, and uh they'll say um does that concern you?
Trigger just quirks a smile and says, just a small ball today, Ona. Not a big one.
Of course. And Ono's gonna kind of look at you um and say, Trigger, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do we know this stuff is happening? do we know? I mean, it'd be hard for us to not know something's happening to trigger, even if we don't know explicitly. Right?
Yeah. We established that like trigger, you use the flow to comfort trigger like at some point during this transformation, I
That
think.
was that was
Oh
Cora.
no, it was that. I'm reading Cora's. Sorry, that was the wrong one. My bad. No, it's the sanctuary. You've allowed trigger to enter into your sanctuary in order to shelter them from danger. That was. I knew there was something. That's the one. Yeah. So you know that something's up, but I don't think that triggers shared the full that there's a transformation going on, but you know that something's happening to
Okay.
trigger.
All right. Thank you. So
Yeah.
so trigger. What is happening to you?
Um, trigger um he trigger shrugs and and then kind of looks around and is like, honestly, I don't know, Honor. Something. Um, why?
I'm your friend. I care, and it's clear that something is happening. Um, I I'm worried for you.
Mm.
Tell me about it. I'm angling for some insight, by the way, at some point here.
Yeah. So, how do I give you insight? Is this if I gave knowledge? Oh, okay, I see it. If I give you knowledge about the major life events, cool. All
Yeah.
right. Well,
I
I
think
think,
if you're doing reach out, we're actually going to trigger two things there then.
yeah, that's what. So, well, is I think I'm going to, if it's okay with you, Lowell. I don't want. I wasn't going to do it because I didn't want it to be too repetitive. But I'd like to. I think it can't. It's still consistent. Like you can see that there's the trigger's hesitant about
Mhm.
reopening it up and talking about it. But I think that memory of like whiskey saying, you need to find out something, and we see like maybe we could see that flashback of like Ono of Trigger in Ono's sanctuary. Like how how did Ono comfort Trigger in their sanctuary? What did that look like?
um, I imagine that they have um, a way to guide others with them in their in what they do, and perhaps not as like not as spocky as like a mind meld or anything like that, but something kind of where they talk, and you know they're constantly studying people, right, and
Mm,
assessing them. And I would imagine you could see a scene where we were facing each other, and they were talking to you and guiding you into sort of a higher state of some sort to help you stabilize or something
yeah,
like.
focus, like because I think Trigger came to you and you thought the Trigger was high, like delirious on something, and kind of slurring and staggering, and like I think that's perfect because I think that then like you were able to like help them sit Trigger down and we see like Ono getting Trigger to focus and like and calm down and recover themselves, and maybe Ono asked Trigger what was about, and Trigger just kind of brushed it off, and we saw that but we come back to the noodle stand, and Trigger like says, I didn't tell you before because I realize now that I wasn't ready. I hadn't told any. I think Cora knows, but I hadn't told anyone about this. And now you're the third person today. I don't know what's happening, Ono. Something is happening to me. I wake up in strange places. I forget things. I have this strength that I didn't know I had. I rescued Aina and Cora from death when my parents' building fell down. I lifted them like it was nothing. And sometimes I even can sense what's about to happen before it does. I can't explain it. But it's hard to control, and I didn't know what else to do. That's why I went to Desi.
Let me pause here because we got some mechanical things that are happening here.
Yeah.
We'll resolve before we get Ono's thing. I think it's clear that you, Ono, get to record an insight on Trigger. And this is definitely off your chest. So Trigger, you can record a bond with Ono. We're also triggering our intimacy moves. That we go and look at those. So to look at the playbook moves, and we look at the intimacy move for the changing when there's a moment of intimacy with someone, be it physical or emotional, they generate one hold. You hang on to this. And then later on, if you happen to roll a 10 plus on your trigger at the start of session, you can use this to take it down to a 7 to 9, like by calling on that memory. So like the emotion that you get in the sort of feedback there. And then the onomastic intimacy move, the onomastic special is when the onomastic shares a moment of intimacy with someone, be it physical or emotional, asylum may be triggered immediately. And they come with you regardless of circumstances, as if you picked the fourth option. And asylum is treated as if you rolled a 10 plus and you gain another insight on them. So I don't know if that's something you want to do, if it would trigger there or not. What do you think, Ono?
Not sure it feels in the moment to just blitz out of there and leave the noodle cart with steaming bowl of noodles there. But
well, we would assume your materials would go with you. I think seems reasonable.
Yeah, then I do think I want to trigger asylum. And I think
is it because of your uncertainty? Is it because of your worry? Is it because you want to protect Trigger? What do you think it is that kind of drives that?
I think it's two things that are driving it. One is I think they genuinely are concerned for Trigger and the emotional state, and just like I would imagine that this is palpable, right? And everything. The other reason is they want to keep following this course of connection and communication because of the cybertome and their knowledge that there is something bigger wrapped up in all of this. And
then I think the scene does kind of end with the two of you vanishing out, because it's an intimacy move. The asylum move automatically triggers. You don't have to roll. It just happens. You'll mark another insight, and we'll see you vanish. let's take our second break for 5. We'll come back with Cora, check in with her, and then I want to come back and talk about what we see in the sanctuary and so on. So take 5 and we'll be back. Cora, do we want to retcon you having been in that scene, or do you want to move on to something else?
No, I'm happy to have rocked up. I did have a question, I guess, for Joe. From the outside, what does it look like for the people that aren't being transported? Is it obvious? Do you leave some kind of projection or something? Like, if somebody was to be walking up to the cart when that happened, what would they see?
That's a good question. I was thinking about that as well. Yeah. Just in general, I kind of had I kind of like the idea of it being like, so let's say, to your point, like somebody who's walking up to the cart, like I think that they would, like, you'd see them like get distracted for a second, like bend down to tie their shoe, or like I think that the way it happens is it kind of projects out like we're not we're not here, or like people don't notice it, right? Like it's this sort of like there but then not there. So like maybe they were walking up to it, they stop, they go tie their shoe, and then they look up and they're like, what was I doing? And then they go along, right?
I will say there's likely to be at least a little bit of flicker in the veil, as that augmented reality has to suddenly compensate for things not being there that were there. So that's probably a little bit also of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I like that.
So well, what I was going to say is that I think probably Cora is approaching the cart and just getting ready to call out to you, and then potentially thinks she sees something out of the corner of her eye, turns to look, and like I think this whole effect would normally exclude her, and perhaps Ono sees that she's there and pulls her along. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, that's perfect. Because I kind of like this idea that, and then where they're always wearing these dark sunglasses, right? That like in that picture, but you see them take them off, and in their eyes, they're completely, in that moment, they're completely black. But there's all of these things, like almost like a star field, like moving around in there. It's kind of a part of that effect of that viroware, right? There's and what you may see is them looking right at Trigger, and just saying something very like Trigger, come with me, and then looking up, and they'll make eye contact with Cora as well, and then they shift out, and then they're in the sanctuary.
I also sorry, Lo.
No, go.
I was just going to say, I also like to think the Trigger didn't just ignore like message back Cora that I'll call you later and then not. So like I kind of like the idea that Trigger on the way to Ono was saying, I'm headed to Ono's, come meet me there, or something, to Ono's cart, and then that kind of there's the lead up to that.
So there is this moment, there is a passage, it is an effect that is unnatural, a transit between 2 points as Ono shifts Cora and Trigger. Cora, this is probably the first time that this has happened to you. What is it that, as a psychic, as an empath, that you feel? What is it that you sense in this transit, in that brief moment? What do your expanded senses feel?
So I think it's probably very disorienting, because she goes from being on a street filled with people to being nowhere momentarily. So it feels like being blind, but with more senses than just your eyes. And then when we arrive at the sanctuary, I'll leave it up to Joe as to how much of the previous order of people that were living there, because I know we have ghosts of some description in there. Whether or not she can, I think she can probably feel being surrounded by beings, even though she maybe can't see them.
And Trigger, you have done this transit before. Ono has moved you here before, but it's been a while. When he brought you here to his sanctuary before, very early on, what feels different to you about the transit this time?
Well, I think this is quite new to Trigger, because I think the last time Trigger was out of it when they were transferred. Like, they were delirious because of, like, Ono thought they were high, but they were, like, because this was because of the transformation. And so this time they're conscious, and and I imagine it feels very strange. And also, I think that maybe they feel and this is only if Joe, you and Lowell think this is appropriate. There's a feeling that there's a presence that they can't, like, there's something feels strange, like even more strange to them in there, that's affecting them physically, that that they're not, that they didn't notice last time as well. But they don't attribute it to anything, or maybe just to the place, but just that the almost like a tingling sensation all over their skin, I think.
And Ono, you bring them into your sanctuary, but where are they brought in? Are we in, some kind of entry chamber? Are we in a library? Are we in the chamber that has the thing? Or what?
Yeah, I have a minor revision to what the sanctuary is, but it's
Please.
so much not going to be.
So the first time we're seeing it really on camera, so let's.
Yeah, so we talked about it being like a derelict craft, but what I was thinking, this popped in my head, is I'm imagining, like, do you remember like old, like, world fairs and big world expos and those sort of things? I'm imagining that at one point in time there was one of those sort of, like, world expo sort of things, and this craft was sort of a piece of that as an exhibit, right? Like, it was, the future of humanity to the stars or something like that. And so it was never really an actual craft, but it was it. And so that it's inside this sort of old abandoned, grounds where this thing took place. So I think, it's
so like a big, like we're in like a big vaulted, almost kind of museum interior kind of thing.
Yeah, like, I imagine, like, in my head it's like, when I think of a drop ship from science fiction, those sort of, like, bulbous sort of, I don't know if I wouldn't expect anybody else to have the same vision in my head of this, but it's this large thing. So I think we would be in this large open vaulted area that we come into, and it has all the trappings of, like, imagine what we thought the future would look like when, I don't want to say Jetsons y, but, like, you know what I mean? It's got, like, that sort of retro future feel because it was part of this, the world of tomorrow sort of exhibit.
Absolutely. So you we'll see that. I think all of you can see sort of now maybe disturbed by the presence of other souls here, those spirits, the phantoms, kind of moving away into other parts of the place. It is a place that doesn't have the same kind of veil that you're used to. So a lot of the augmented reality things, you get that kind of null appearing in your heads up here. So what do you tell them? What do you say? Oh no, this is your place that you've drawn them to.
Yeah, so I think what they'll do is they'll kind of start scurrying around and be kind of like, sit down, make yourself comfortable, and they'll start cooking, because I think that's what they do. Is they cook, and let's get some food in you, and then we can all talk. It feels like we're at this point where we all need to talk.
Or
I
what's
think
your
Trigger's
reaction?
still holding.
Yeah.
I was going to say Trigger's still holding a bowl of noodles, like from the cart, but Cora is obviously without.
And Cora, what is your reaction to this bizarre happenstance?
I think it's kind of the equivalent of being shell shocked. Like, this is such a shift in reality. She has no idea what's going on. But I also think something in the back of her mind is worrying her. We had established previously that she is no stranger to digital ghosts. But the theory was that might be her burden projecting. So like, she can feel the spirits around her, and then she's projecting an image through the veil, like it's leaking out of her. But she can see that there is no connection to the veil here. So these aren't that.
Yeah, they're different. I think that the others may see them as a little wan and transparent, but I think you, with your senses, like, you can see there's a complex of emotions and reactions there in these things. So we cut forward, table, chairs, plates of food out, the three of you sitting around in this place, and you have a chance to talk. Do you explain what this is? Oh no.
Yeah, so I understand this is probably confusing to you. But this is my home. And you're safe here. This is a sanctuary. We are safe here. And you don't have to worry about anything while you're here. And as long as you're here, the my companions and they'll kind of like look around. They won't these are the spirits of those who came before me. And they won't harm you. But I understand it might be a little disconcerting.
Yeah, this is a first for me.
Trigger slurps some noodles and says, "No, they're okay, Cora. They're pretty cool, actually."
I think if you've been here, I think the more time you spend here, maybe the more you can see them, or maybe because the sanctuary is this kind of, I'm imagining it's this kind of physical, metaphysical space, right? Like it's this sort of this place that's here and there, kind of. And so I think the more you spend, I'm thinking of, you think about the movie Spirited Away, right? The longer they're there, the more the more tangible the the spirits become to the people that are there. So, and Trigger's
my
been there
cat.
at least, even though he was messed up, he was there at least one other time and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I intend at some point once Cora gets her feet under her to probably do psychometry here, but not yet. She's not ready for that yet.
Not yet. I think like Trigger puts the noodle bowl down and says and turns to Cora and says sorry I couldn't take your call. I was with Whiskey.
Oh, that's good, right? How is she?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, she was. Things went better than I thought they would.
Glad to hear it. I was just calling because I was worried about you. You seem to be going through a lot at the moment, and I don't know, I just had a feeling that maybe you weren't okay.
Trigger smiles gratefully. And yeah, things have been pretty rough. She said she thinks I should try to find out more about what's happening. And they turn to Ono and put a hand on the table and kind of look at it like examining their own hand in front of their friends. And it looks up at Ono and says, and Cora, and says, you guys don't know anything about what's happening to me, do you? And this is Trigger trying to reach out. So
that move, let's take a look at that.
yeah.
Reach
Wait.
out. Let's have you roll. What do you want to roll that with?
Yeah. So I'll before I forget, I'll reduce my chrysalis by 1.
Okay.
And roll that with, I think this is with peace.
Nice.
Yeah, I think having their friends around and doing it in this sanctuary, and with the ghosts of that helped Trigger once before, I think this is peace. So we'll roll that with, that's a flat roll, 2d6. Okay, a 7.
7. So on a 7 to 9, you can ask a question. And if you ask a PC a question, for every question, the answer they gain +1 hold, which they may spend to ask you to do something. So what question do you want to ask, and who do you want to ask it to? Or you can ask me.
So I think the first question to you, which is a mechanical one,
Yeah.
can you spend multiple bonds on a single roll?
Yes, you can. Do you want to burn 3 bonds
to get an extra question? I think I do here.
Okay,
I think I
absolutely.
do.
I'm very pleased to have you burn through your resources like that.
Yeah, I think this is like, I think that this is an important moment for Trigger.
Okay.
And And I think they're going to ask Ono, do you know anything about my transformation? And then I'll wait to hear that one.
Yeah.
And then before I ask the next one.
So I can answer. So, what are the boundaries here around setting? I guess the only thing. So here's what I'll say. Never mind. Don't answer that. So, I said trigger. I don't know exactly what's happening to you, but I can tell you this. I believe it is related in some way to my order. I mean, I'm not sure that I would be talking about cyber tomes and things like that to them. I'm going to say to my order and what happened to those who came before me.
Okay. That seems like a fair answer.
And then I think so does that mean that Ono gains one hold here,
Yes.
which they can spend to ask Trigger to do something in the future?
Yep.
Or now, yeah. And if Trigger does it, then we both mark XP. Is that right?
Yep.
And I think Trigger kind of absorbs that and asks about more to learn more about Ono's order, which we can go into now or allied, before turning to Cora and asking them the same question. Like, well, I think that, or just
And
so I know,
we can
just
talk
so I
meta.
understand.
We can talk meta here because I don't think Cora knows anything about your transformation. Do you, Cora?
No, the only thing I was going to offer is a potential self-reflection. I can tell you how it's making you feel.
I was
I don't know
wondering
if that's of use to Trigger.
Yeah. I thought it might be an opportunity to give to the Cora might see something in the psychometric about it, like that they're
We could,
that
if you wanted to ask Cora to do like an assess move.
yeah, like that could prompt that.
So basically, rather than do you know anything is essentially turning to Cora and saying, "Can you use your powers to tell me anything about this?"
Yeah.
Of course, I can try. And I'll get Trigger to kind of turn and face me and sit and just put his palms on his knees. Are we at a couch or at a table? I think you said you had your hand on the table, so I will
On
just
the table.
scooch over so I'm sitting next to you and just reach out and put my hands on top of yours.
If Whiskey could see this.
I know. I know. And then close your eyes. It helps to not have distractions for this. And I'll do the same. And I will roll with peace on this as well.
So roll your assess with peace.
All right, that's a 7.
That's a
but
7. You automatically gain an extra hold.
Yes, I do automatically gain an extra hold from it.
So what do you want to ask or what do you want to declare? And in the case of these declarations that are about another player, these are ones that we always check in and confirm
Yeah, I was going to say that I don't necessarily feel comfortable declaring things about Trigger's transformation without checking in with Jonathan. So
Yeah, you always get the opportunity to do that. Yeah.
So then I will ask a question of Jonathan and then use that to declare the answer.
Okay.
Is Trigger fundamentally remaining Trigger and something is happening to him, or is he becoming someone else, something else?
I think for the moment, Trigger is still Trigger, but I think that this transformation, I see that, and I think Trigger's afraid that they're becoming something else. Like not completely different from like in terms of like.
So they are changing into something else, but the process is slow right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's and also that doesn't mean like it completely erases their identity. It's just changing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But it's at the beginning. Yeah.
I think then, from Cora's perspective, no matter what happens to Trigger, there will still be some aspect of you there. Can I declare that as a detail?
Yeah. Are you good with that, Jonathan?
Absolutely, but I'm also good if you want to declare more. Like I'm like don't like if you've got an idea or something like I'm open to anything. I don't have any preconceptions. I'm playing this as it comes.
You've got another hold. You've made an important declaration about their existence. You still got one more hold.
Well, in that case, can I change the declaration to say for at least the short term, Trigger will remain themselves?
Yeah.
And there may be some kernel of Trigger remaining as we move on, because that keeps it open and lets us.
But gives them a little bit of hope for the immediate future.
Trigger's been having blackouts. Can I ask a question about what happens to the personality of Trigger? Like, is something else controlling him, or is he just not able to remember what he's been doing? And again, that's a question to Lowell as the GM, but maybe you might want to pass that back to Jonathan and ask him. I don't know.
No, I want Lowell to answer that. He's seen me squirm for enough for this session. Like,
I think you will definitely feel with your psychometry as you're reaching out. You're kind of seeing that, and you're reaching back in time with your thing, kind of reaching through. And there is a moment where you see Trigger seated on a train, and we see you're kind of seeing this scene, watching it, and you see Trigger's eyes open, and they look right at you, and they say, "Get out of here. This is not where you belong." And you kind of shake back. You could tell this was a vision of the past, but they could see you.
So yeah, I would like to try and hide that from Trigger if I can. That was a worrying development.
I think Trigger's like what does that look like while you're having it to Trigger? Is it just like, does Trigger still have their eyes closed and it's just silence for an uncomfortably long time, or is it, or does Trigger's eyes open up after you give them the reassuring news that Trigger will remain Trigger at least for the time being, and then see you just staring at them? Or
so I think I would need to spend a flow to share the vision with you, and given that Cora wasn't sure what she was going to see, I think I will hold on to that flow for the moment. And so I think from Trigger's perspective, Cora was just quiet for a minute. You might have heard her breathing change. You might have felt her hands kind of twitch. But whether or not you know that was because she was in a little bit of distress, I'm not sure.
So I think at that point, like Trigger opens their eyes and is like, Cora, is everything okay?
It's fine. I don't know what's happening to you, Trigger, but I know that you're still you, and that you will still be you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, I guess that's something.
Aura, I think that you will gain a flow from your intimacy move here.
Okay.
And actually 2 flow. I think this is an intimacy move triggering with both Ono and Trigger. So, and if you want, you can ask them a question about their past or their personal feelings.
So first, the mechanical question. I was at 2 flow, so 3 is the max, right? So
yep.
I will gain 1.
Mm-hmm.
I will ask Trigger, and I feel bad about this as a player, but I think this is a trick I've seen Cora use a number of times on Trigger to just kind of misdirect him into something else. So this is obviously her go-to move when dealing with Trigger. Maybe this is what is best for him, but I will redirect the conversation back to Whiskey and say, like, I hope things work out with you and Whiskey. You really love her, don't you? And that's my question.
And Trigger is like is surprised by that question, like, but answers. Well, I think kind of like blushes a little and and like it tries to change the subject, I think. Like, but yeah, like
Okay.
Cora knows how
yeah,
Whiskey's
okay.
how Trigger's feeling, and the answer is yes, but it feels uncomfortable at the moment with everything that's going on. They're a bit like, yeah, it's problematic, but yes is the answer.
Yeah.
And Cora, do you have a question for? Oh, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, bear in mind that we're seated, looking eye to eye and holding hands.
Yes.
Which is,
yeah, that's right.
It's a very weird situation, but okay.
Yeah.
And Cora, do you have a question for Ono during this sort of interaction, this intimacy here, him sharing the sanctuary with you?
I don't know that I have a question so much as I kind of want to take that moment to reach out for Ono's hand. Keeping hold of one of Trigger's and then reaching out to Ono as well, and just hold his hand and thank you for giving us this space. It's peaceful here. You must really love it here. There you go. That is my question. It's implied.
I think so. Ono, I think what you will see is they will smile, but they'll have a strange faraway look in their eye. So it's not a smile of yay. It's sort of this, it's almost a rueful smile. But that you just see them they're staring, they're just, very distant.
And I think that's where we're going to stop for today. We'll kind of start up from that. Hopefully we'll be able to bring in, we may cut forward a little bit. We'll bring on our hopefully 4th player next time. Let me walk through this. No, I think we hit your entanglement, drive, and question. So that's 3 XP. Cora, I think in some ways we hit all three of yours as well in some regards there.
Mhm.
The questions about the powers and so on. And I think the same thing with Trigger. I think 3 XP for end of session for everybody then.
Well done.
Let's do just a quick stars wishes. Jonathan?
Yeah, wow. This I thought last session put me through the ringer, but this one even felt more just as much, if not more so. You know, yeah, okay. Stars and wishes. And, like, it was fantastic. I loved it. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure playing with all of you. I really liked um let's start with Mike, because that's where we finished. I loved the scene with Mercury, and that was great, and the way that you directed that scene to that future scene with to complicate Ono's life was gold. I'm really looking forward to that scene, as I mentioned in the chat. So big star for that. Ono. I love that we shared that that Trigger and Ono shared that incident moment, Joe. I thought big star for that, and thank you for pushing that, because initially I wasn't going to go there. Like, I felt I was worried about going back to the world another time, but you like the way that you set it up made it feel right, and it was so big star for that, and also for I love what you're establishing with the iconoclasts and the cybertome, and connecting that to Trigger's transformation, and having that. That's just awesome. Love it. And same lol, the way that you're tying everything together and then just twisting it, like it's just like, oh, I love it, and it's painful, but I love it. So keep doing that. Thanks, lol. And my wishes. I did want to add, and this is what I was going to say at the end, but you stopped it very nicely. But I will add that in that last scene, I think Cora, you know, I hadn't fully remembered that they were sitting facing each other, and some of Trigger's discomfort. I think Cora knows that there's kind of like that there's it wasn't just, you know, generic embarrassment about admitting that they love whiskey. There's something else there. Like, there's they're not exactly sure about, like, there's something. It's not just Cora's a friend, but
Yeah.
there's something there, that there's an opening, you know, that
Yeah.
I think that the Trigger hasn't admitted necessarily, or may or may not be aware, but that's something. So I'd love to explore that in the future.
Mhm.
That's a wish. Also, to get back to finding out who was behind the attack on Trigger's family, and the brought us all together. So, and reconnecting with Moss to now to find out what he knows. So those are my wishes. So apologies for taking a long time, but
No.
it was a juicy episode, so thank you.
Ono?
Yeah, no, I had a great time too. I think stars to Jonathan for being the emotional punching bag, apparently, or roller coaster or something in there. And, you know, full disclosure, in the spirit of transparency, I was going to use true name on you if the session hadn't ended. So I was gonna like double down on on that. So but no, I think, you know, the thing, you know, just the continued elaboration of, you know, I love the intimate moments, the like the deep stuff, right? That's I as a role player, I'm becoming more and more like wanting those things, right? Like, you know, I come from a different kind of tradition, like probably many of us did, but I'm loving that a lot. So um let's keep doing that. Let's keep doing that. And then Mike, I think you know, I I really like I just really like Cora and the I loved all the guilt at the beginning, right? You know, and the and I'm I'm very curious about this Mercury thing. I think that's going to be a lot of fun as well. Mercury, right? Whiskey's that, yes, Mercury. Sorry,
Yes.
those aren't the same, and yet I keep getting them confused. And
It's
then
the W and M, they mirror each other.
well, yeah. So, and then again, always stars Lowell for running, and then I think my favorite moment was when it was Trigger at the door, and everything. So that was awesome, right? That was really, really, really awesome. So wishes. I also would think it'd be great to get back to, like, digging into like what's really going on, right? I think you said that too, Jonathan. Yeah. So and then there's more, right? This is pretty good stuff, I think. So
Awesome. And Cora.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to play today with everybody. I've had an absolute blast, and I think everyone's already just about covered everything that I would want to say. I did have a couple I wanted to call out. We had a few new NPCs in this session, and they're all fun, and I look forward to having them come back in some way, shape, or form. I had a star that just says intimate moments and inner conflicts. I loved all of that stuff in this session. I loved that basically everyone kind of started with inner conflict in some way, shape, or form, and then we ended with intimate moments with everybody. And I think that is a beautiful arc for us to have gone through in a single episode. I really like that. I had a star for Ono promising the iconoclast that he means them no harm, or they mean them no harm, but then continuing to pursue whatever secrets they're trying to protect. More of that. I want to see. I'm continuing to love Ono being a calming presence amongst the group, and I'm really keen to see what it is that gets him fired up. So I'm looking forward to that. I had a star for specifically for the idea of the viral cyberware as a kind
that
of
was
path
nice.
to unlocking information. I don't know if anybody's read Chasm City by Alastair Reynolds. That has a very similar concept in it, and it's one of my favorite science fiction books. I highly recommend that. And that is also, in that case, a technological virus to deliver religious Gnosticism like information. So I love Trigger's continuing disaster spiral, but I also really like that it is not all one way. So I liked seeing a bunch of that kind of stepping back a little bit and healing some of the wounds that have been caused in Trigger's life. So from a wishes perspective, I hope we do see more of that, but I expect, let me look at the transform clock. I expect that things might go south again very quickly. So I'm kind of envisaging this seesaw pattern in Trigger's life. I had a star and a wish for the cybertome. I love the idea that it's in a state of flux, and connecting it to Trigger's transformation was an absolutely that was a masterful move, and I love to see that. I think I connected a few different things in the session, and I'm going to connect them together into a wish, but it's more of like, Joe, this is something you might want to think about, or Lowell, this is something you might want to think about. It was the having the cybertome be in some kind of state of flux and related to Trigger's transformation, and then Trigger said something about being able to see things slightly before they happen. And so I wondered if maybe the cybertome is so difficult to open because it can detect that you're trying to open it, and it changes so that the way you open it is different. So you need to somehow convince it to not do that before you can get access to it.
Oh, nice.
So I thought that would be cool. But I'll leave the two of you to take that and run with it or not. I really want to see more of the iconoclasts and whatever it is, the information that Ono's trying to seek. That was really exciting for me. And from a wishes perspective, I do really want to do psychometry in the sanctuary. I don't necessarily want to do it. I think the timing on that will be important. So I didn't want to do it in this session. So I'm looking for an opportunity to do that, but I'm also not, I'm not like, hey, let's do it immediately at the start of the next session. I'm kind of.
We can also flash back to it
come up
if we need to. Like we can I like that.
Cool. And then just more. This was fantastic, and I'm having a blast.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. Great session. Enjoyed running it. Really dig these characters. So I'm going to stop the recording.